Dennis is definitely an innovator, and he's a shrewd businessman.
He is goal-oriented.
A very ambitious young man.
He is outside of the regular nice guy. He's really a wonderful human being.
He will go out of his way just to help others.
Dennis is a self-made man.
Everyone in the community loves Dennis Hawthorne. I think that I was born for a purpose. You know, my mom told me later on in life that people used to say to her, she should have left me at the hospital because I had a polio. I had to go to the hospital for like 7 times. The doctor broke it about 7 times just to get it back on top. Also, I had to wear a special shoes with iron going through the foot. The doctor said I would not be able to walk properly. And it's so funny that I become a track star at my school. I had to go to the hills to look wood, to boil the food. You know, my mom used to raise like pigs and goats and other stuff like that in the days that I was responsible in tying out the goat in the morning and feeding the pigs and helping my mom with the chores around the house. One of the things that my mother always emphasized is about education. You know, she tried her best to make sure that we get a proper education because she did not get a good education. Actually, she could not read and write until she was really up a couple of years ago since she started reading and writing. I grew up with a stepfather that used to physically and verbally abuse me. He was physically abusive to my mom, and you know, up to a point where when I grew up to be a young man, I decided that I had to put a stop to it. My mom used to do like 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet, and I wanted to change that life around. I wanted to make sure that when I grow up, I would be able to take care of my mom. And I remember he ran away after I told him that he can't touch my mom again because I decided that I had to stand up, and he realized that I had the skill and the force, you know, to carry out that threat. So he packed up his things and ran away with the other 4 kids, and that was a relief.
Dennis was a photographer, and Dennis is also an artist.
I was supposed to go to Jamaica School of Art, but my mom could not afford to send me to Kingston to go to school. So I decided that I have to do drawing. So I used to go around drawing signs in the banks, like barber shops, and doing T-shirts and making plaques and selling like Richard Rich and Dennis the Menace outer carving. At the time, I used to paint those. I remember when Jimmy Cliff came out in the days. Now people will know how old I am. I used to draw Jimmy Cliff in the Lee jacket of T-shirts, and I used to get like $30, and I have all the dreadlocks and the Rastafarians. Them used to come by and want me to draw the Lion of Judah and their jacket backet and $30. Man, and as a young man, I know I was making a lot of money then. I was doing pretty good, and I did not realize that the entrepreneurship was actually building then. You know, I just take those things for granted because I was just trying to survive.
Dennis is a friend of another priest friend of mine who helped Dennis in the photography business to start out and got quite a bit of work from this priest doing weddings and so on. So Dennis started making a name from then.
I had a business at 19 years old, and in that business, one day a gentleman came to me and said to me he needs to take some photograph to go to the embassy because they're giving away visa at the embassy. And I said, what? You know, he said, Dennis, you got to come by, man. They're giving visa. I heard they're giving visa at the embassy because they have a quota that they have to fill. I said, okay, I'm going to go with you guys. So I took the photograph of myself that same day, and in the morning I went to Kingston. I got a B1, B2 multiple indefinite because of the business that I had. He came from Jamaica, a poor fella, not even knowing where he would be staying. I thought it would have been a better rose. I came here with this notion that things are going to be so good. I'm going to be a celebrity in no time. I'm going to make some money because I used to see some of the guys come back with jewelry, gold chain, money in a short period of time, not knowing how they got it in some other way, unscrupulous way. So I decided when I came here, I realized it was something different. You know, I had to work hard. My first job, I met this photographer, Mr. Hoshu. He was like a father to me, a Chinese Jamaican. And I have to give him all the credits, so to speak, for the fundamental of my entrepreneurial skills, because he definitely taught me some little detailed things in doing business. Because of my photographer background, you know, we gravitate towards each other. And he decided that, okay, he's gonna help me out. And he was also dabbling in real estate construction. And he had a house, a burnt out, about 8-family burnt out house on Lincoln Road in Brooklyn. And he decided that, Dennis, you're gonna help these guys, we're gonna fix this house up. I thought that I was gonna do something else. When I went there, my skill that I have, I could only take out the garbage and be the garbage man. That house was, the homeless people used to live in that house, and they defecate all over the place. They urinate, defecate everywhere you can think of. When I went in that place that day, I was sick. Night when I left the building, I started crying, and I stopped, and like something said to me, Dennis, why are you crying? You're strong, you were trained that way. You know, you have grown up tough. And all this time I did not realize the toughness that I was going through, the hard work that I was doing when I was a small child was just preparing me for this tough time. So I said, Dennis, you have been through that. You have been through tough time in Jamaica, you know, growing up as a young man, you know. So I decided that, okay, I'm gonna use that toughness in terms of this job. I went there the next day and I decided that I'm gonna load these dumpsters, and I did it in half the time that it was supposed to be done. They gave me 1 compound bucket to use. I used 2 compound buckets, and I thought of it at the time I was training. Within about 2 months or so, I stopped doing the garbage work. I was hiring people to do the garbage work on the construction site. Within about 3, 4, 5 months after, I was helping to supervise. I became one of the better construction person that was working on that site for a good period of time. And I was hiring folks now, doing sheetrock, painting, all of those things.
He didn't just come here and start a shipping business. He actually came and worked for other people, doing a lot of manual labor. And he still continues to do a lot of what I call the manual work in his business. There are days when he goes out on his trucks with his staff, and he's the person who is lifting the barrels and getting them loaded and helping the customers to pack. We often talk about times when he goes out now and is helping to pack his customers and lift their barrels and get their stuff all packed and ready for shipping. And the customers are complimenting him to, you know, as an employee, not knowing that he's the owner, and giving him, you know, messages to take back to Mr. Dennis to tell him thanks very much for the service, for his consideration, for coming on time, for meeting the schedules. And many people would say, I'm the owner, not Dennis. He doesn't tell the customers anything. He just continues to do and just tells them that he will go back and tell the owner that, you know, he's satisfied with the service. And so he does a lot of anecdotal or informal surveys with his customer that way.
He was actually doing both things at the same time. He was a photographer, shipper.
The photography and the shipping business was too much for me to handle. We were getting a lot of people who wants to do weddings, you know, getting married, portraits, everything, and I had getting a lot of people calling me to pick up their barrels and all of that. So I had to make a hard choice, even though I love photography, and I thought that this was ordained for me to be a photographer. I decided that, okay, no, I have to venture out into the shipping business, and I realized that I could help more people in the shipping business.
He runs his business not only with intelligence as a business person, but he runs his business with heart as a human being.
I remember when I had to work 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. I remember Christmas Day, I had no family, and I had to go there, pick up barrels. People used to say to me, young man, you don't have no family. Why are you here at Christmas? You should be in your family. I always said to them, then who's going to pick up your barrel? You wanted your barrel to be picked up on Christmas Day. I remember this old lady, she always supported me, always, like every month she would ship something with me. And one month she called me and said, Dennis, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I don't have anything to ship this month. And you know, those are the encouragement that I got, and I realized that these people wants to help me.
He's a Christian as well. Very important fact. And he uses his spirituality and his commitment to God as a big part of driving his business in terms of, you know, ensuring that he gives his customer a fair shake. And it is the basis for his ethics. He is highly ethical. His integrity is paramount. Compromising his integrity for money is something Dennis would never ever do.
Dennis Shipping could not what it is today without the staff, the people that have supported Dennis Shipping, the people that God have put into my life to take care of business. Right at this present time, we have location here in Brooklyn, which is one of the main location. We have in the Bronx, and we have independent agents throughout the tri-state area, right from Virginia right back to Rhode Island. We have people throughout the Caribbean islands that represent us, and we have made a household name for Dennis Shipping. But it's not. I'm not going to take the credit for this. It's the people that I have working for me.
It's located on Utica Avenue in Brooklyn. It's a small restaurant. It's named after his daughter. And again, another demonstration of how committed he is to his family. Crystal Caribbean is what it's called. It's in its fledgling startup process, because it's going to be 2 years old since he's had it this year. I think very late this year, October or thereabouts. And it serves Caribbean food. Admittedly, they have the best jerk pork and jerk chicken, particularly jerk chicken, I'd say in New York State, hands down. And he brings the same kind of customer care, customer concern to the business, and tries to ensure that the people who he has as part of his team understand the needs of the customers. Caribbean people like good tasting Caribbean food. Caribbean people like healthy portions of Caribbean food. And when you go to his restaurant, you can see that you get a good bang for your buck.
People leave all the way from New Jersey to come to Crystal's to buy our jerk chicken. We do baking, all sort of baking. We catered for the Prime Minister of Grenada luncheon when they were here a couple of months last year.
There are times when he's just in the restaurant hanging out, talking to people who come in, encouraging them to sample the fare that's offered, not telling them that again he's the owner manager, so to speak. We'll tell him, try the jerk chicken, man, try the jerk chicken, it is very good. I eat here all the time. And people will take him at his word. Some people, many persons who come in, considering that he's well known in New York State, will say, are you the man with the shipping companies? Oh, you eat here too? And he will say, yes, man, yes.
Dennis it's hard to tell when Dennis is going through hard times because he does not say to anybody. He goes to his home and he spends a day and he reflects on what he's doing, where he could have done better, or where he could have done something in another way. And then you don't hear from him for a day or two, and then he bounces out. And he's full of life and ideas, and he's going to move again.
He has had some problems with neighbors saying, his trucks maybe would be making too much noise at night, and during his busy season, he would be actually having barrels and boxes on the sidewalk, and they would call the police to say he's blocking the sidewalk. If someone stops by to pick up a barrel and they double park, the police would be there. Things like those. When
Dennis came into business, it wasn't Dennis alone. There were several other shippers around. So he had to make a name for himself, and that was quite an obstacle to overcome because he was new on the scene and there were several other shipping companies around. And so he had to really put some advertisement out.
I spoke with him once and he said, Vinny, one of my driver rode off one of my new truck, and that hurts. Maybe it wasn't his fault, but because things do happen, accidents happen. But these are struggles that he would encounter from, occasionally.
Not everybody in the past that has dealt with him have been overly kind to him. He has been very kind to them, but they have not been very kind to him. He bounces back very easily, and he believes in human being, and he believes that people are capable of making mistakes. So he does not use one example or one situation to just forget about everybody. He moves on.
He is known throughout the length and breadth of the New York community for giving back. His advertisements can be found on the back or the front cover of many, many commemorative journals for event fundraisers. And that is signature.
My high school alumni, Cornell College, whenever we have computers or stuff or even athletic gears to ship out, we'll call up Dennis, and Dennis will say, no problem, I'll ship it for you, whether at a low cost or for free. You know, granted, when someone is in business, I expect that they just can't give away the store, and I have no problem. But Dennis is a person that will say, don't worry about it, I'll ship it for you, just bring it over.
He is what we call a partner with the foundation. He's donated scholarships for students who are attending UA. He's also provided shipping facilities through his business for shipping books and other items to the university from New York. And we consider him a very good strategic partnership. Currently at the university we have a scholarship called the Dennis Shipping Scholarship, which he has donated. And on 2 or 3 occasions he has, in the last 2 years, shipped books to the University of West Indies, the Mona campus, complimentary, in order to assist the university in carrying out its mission.
There are many organizations that would invite Dennis to speak, especially to their young people, to encourage them as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. And he's really a living example, as I said before, of what can be achieved. So even in the churches that I oversee, we have him speaking to the youths so many times. He would be speaking in classrooms to young people in the school system to tell them about business, what they should look for, how they should approach business. He would be there to tell the young people how to dress themselves, to apply for jobs.
I've been in his presence and people are having conversations with him and saying, times are hard, you cannot afford to do so and so, let somebody else help. And he will say, there is room for everybody to help. And if my help will help to make a difference, then I must help. It is my bounden duty to help whoever is in need.
A couple of years ago, I formed an organization called Legacy. What we're trying to do is build a computer center, a library, a state-of-the-art, a boxing gym, a place that a person could go and work out.
He has come out of the community and he has made something of himself, and he wants to let them know that they too can make, not necessarily come into the States, but bloom where they're planted.
One of my ultimate goals is to see that this state-of-the-art gym and computer center is open for those folks in Grange Hill.
He is known for shipping hundreds and thousands of dollars or provide, services to the Caribbean for hurricane, not only to Jamaica but to the Caribbean, for hurricane victims, for victims of special circumstances that take place in Jamaica. If there are issues that has to do with families that may need help from a particular disaster, which may not be related to a natural disaster, things like a fire or something, I know that people have he's one of the first persons on the list that people will approach.
He would not abuse anyone. He treats his workers right. He would have me there at regular intervals to talk with them and to pray with them.
We're also affiliated with NEAT. NEAT is Negril Education Environment Trust in Negril that was formed by Mr. Winston Wellington, a friend of mine, who called me up and said, Dennis, can you help me? Because one of his motto is to a book in every child's hand and a computer in every classroom. And we have sent thousands and thousands of computers to Jamaica for the kids in the primary school. We have built about 5 computer and library for different primary school that did not have a computer classroom or did not have a library.
Dennis is known to give. Sometimes I have to caution him that you have to pay your bills, because he will just give and give and give, and somebody will bring a barrel, it's going to a poor and unfortunate family in Jamaica, and Dennis will just write it off and send the barrel to the family so that they can have food. His thing is that, well, if he is able to eat others should be able to eat. He's just a generous heart. I always look forward to his 4th of July party, his birthday party, and that is usually a big bang, and there's enough food, and of course Dennis is in the restaurant business, so he brings the chef over.
The common people and the aristocrats, they all come to mix at Dennis's party. They look forward to this. It's a big thing. I don't know how we can afford it, but I will check to see if his tithes are up to date. If his tithes are not up to date, then we have got to cut back on the parties, because these are elaborate parties.
We have a yearly barbecue. I know that's what a lot of folks probably might be saying, that the yearly barbecue is not just a regular barbecue. We call it the Dennis Shipping Barbecue. It's to get folks from different parts of the Caribbean islands to interact. One of the reasons why we have the barbecue is to recognize folks that I call the unsung heroes. People who has certain challenges of life, but yet they put the challenges that they have aside and help the community anywhere in the Caribbean. For example, Mr. Akbar, he died last year, August, right after I have the barbecue for him. About 2 months after he died. He had cancer, and he knew he was dying from cancer. But yet, up to the last minute, he was out there helping others, going around, taking photographs, promoting the Caribbean. Wherever the news was, he was all over. So I decided that I'm going to honor him.
His office is littered with a plethora of awards just to demonstrate or as a testimony of his contribution.
Dennis has gotten too many plaques. If you ask me, he doesn't have space. He'll have to build a house, and that will be the plaque house, and you just go in. There's a famous picture of him posing with Mrs. Clinton. And I told him, I said, you can't get any better, Dennis. You can't go any further. I imagine the next time I see him, he'll be posing with the president.
He has his walls, plural, with awards and citations and plaques and all the works. He's always well recognized, and we really must congratulate the organizations for not just receiving from him, but awarding him also, because there's an old saying from my neighborhood: encouragement sweetens the labor. And he has received many, many awards and citations from government as well as from private enterprises.
He's been recognized here, certainly by the Jamaican consulate in years past. He's been recognized by city council members. He's been recognized by borough presidents. He's been recognized by assemblymen. So in terms of state recognition here, he really has run the gamut. And almost every association that he has assisted here has found an opportunity to thank him and to thank him publicly for his contribution.
He has boxes and boxes of plaques that he has not put up on his wall because there's no space, whether at home or in the office.
He doesn't necessarily want to be lauded or applauded, even though we used to joke that he's been buying all these awards. But they are truly well deserved.